Our last presenter today is Jan Vink from Cornell Institute for Social and Economic Research, and he's going to talk about ready-to-use ACS data for sophisticated data user. I do so much work on not sophisticated data user that I'm looking forward to see what Jan has to show. Thank you.
Thank you, and good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jan Vink, and the program states that I'm at the Cornell Institute for Social Economic Research. That's not completely true. Florio Argilas was supposed to stand here before you and give this presentation. He had a family emergency to attend to, so I was asked to take over the presentation. I work at the Cornell program on applied demographics, where we focus more on the content of the data. And New York, we are coordinating agency within the New York State data centers, and was happy to hear Craig explain everything about the state data centers. The CISA, the Cornell Institute for Social Economic Research, offers data and computing resources to social scientists. As I said, Florio couldn't be here, and I hope I will be able to answer the questions. But what is the presentation about? Today's presentation is about some data resources that are developed at CISA that are aimed to help those census data users that do mainly research but use multiple variables out of the census data, not just one table, but data from multiple tables or multiple variables from all kinds of things. Why would you use multiple variables to gain insights, find those correlations between some of the variables, do statistical regressions, clusters, all those kind of things. When you start a research project, I'm sure you all know that at the beginning of your project you don't know exactly what variables you need at the end. You always start small. Oh no, let's include this one, let's include that one, and you end up going back and forth, extracting data and getting more data and joining and all that kind of good stuff. The idea at CISA was to provide a place where you could download all the data at once and then strip away the part you don't need. Of course, it's not the only place you can get to those multivariable Census Bureau data. You can use the Census Bureau data tools. You can download several tables through American Fact Finder. You can also download the summary files from the FTP server. You can use Data Ferret. Or you can, if you are interested in using the public use microdata, you can use IPAMS. For Data Ferret and IPAMS, kind of the advantages are that it's pretty easy to make your data selection. You can make custom tabulations. IPAMS is a little bit more user-friendly than Data Ferret, but Data Ferret gets up there. I find geographic filtering a little bit of a hassle in IPAMS and Data Ferret. And as I said before, you go back and forth to end up with your final data extract. Using the Census FTP or American Fact Finder, you get your data directly from the source, but you end up with a pretty complex system of files. You then have to do some post-processing on. There's a kind of the workflow you have to go through if you download the summary files. Just for those people that might not know about the summary files, it is kind of, imagine all the tables from American Fact Finder next to each other and then chopped up in several files. Those are the summary files. And the system is one geographic file that explains every record, kind of what that record stands for, one geography. It also has a unique logical record number. That logical record number is also in each of the data files, where in one data file there are 1, 2, sometimes 5 tables in that file. So you end up a lot of times with multiple data files, and you have to link them all together using that logical record number. The process isn't made easier with the lack of headers in all the files. The geographic file is a fixed length data file. The data files itself are comma delimited, so you end up with several import statements. It's not a very straightforward process to do this all. For SAS users, there are some SAS macros provided that makes things easier. If you're interested in the microdata, you're a little bit better off. All the data for a state is in 2 files. There is a household file with records for each household, and there is a person file with records for each person, and those are the person variables. And you have to link them together and make sure that the information, you have to link them together in a many-to-one relationship, and you have to make sure that the information from the household is linked to each person to create a nice rectangular file you can then use for your statistical analysis. And now, if you go to use American Fact Finder, kind of the same process. You have multiple tables, and you have to link them together using the geographic ID that is provided in each of those tables. And there's a geographic header file you can use to get a little bit more information about that geography. Although the geographic header file is quite empty if you download it through American Fact Finder. So back to the purpose of this presentation, showing off what CISR is doing to make life easier and sticking with its mission to be a resource for scientists. I hope I made clear that post-processing is involved in using data from the Census Bureau FTP site. And since a lot of people are doing kind of exactly the same thing, it would be nice to have a repository where all that work is done for everybody, and that you can then have one file to download and just strip out the data that you don't need. That would save people time and thus money, and hopefully lower the threshold to work with this kind of census data, because the post-processing can be challenging. CISR is also promoting to social researchers to be transparent in their research and to take steps to make the research reproducible. Saying, if other people want to reproduce your findings and kind of check that you reach the right conclusions, take those steps. CISR wants to keep that in mind and provide a service where the reproducibility is made a little bit easier. Pointing people to the Census Bureau FTP directory can be limiting in the capability to reproduce the research. Another thing that's big at CISR is metadata. CISR is at the forefront of thinking about metadata, and it has developed CEDAR. It's quite a mouthful, a comprehensive, extensible data documentation and access repository. It's developed with Census Bureau metadata in the back of the mind. It's developed using NSF funds. My understanding is that ICSPR is working with the Census Bureau to fill a repository